So we do have a quorum. I'm going to call the meeting to order. There are no proposed changes to the agenda, and so I'll move to adopt it. Second by Mr. Hillis. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Thank you. Agenda's been adopted as written. I'll now move to approve the minutes of the prior meeting. Second by Mr. Hillis. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Thank you. The ayes have it. Do we have any public commenters signed up?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right. Very well. We will then proceed with our first and only presentation. Commissioner Wiggins will present the Department of Public Works quarterly update. And you should all have hard copies in front of you. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman Shook and committee members. I would like to present our FY23 Q1 quarterly report. The time period for this report spans from July, August, and September of this year. Okay, under major priorities and accomplishments, we're very proud to have onboarded several key leadership positions. To the top left-hand side, you'll see our new director of the Office of Fleet Services, which is Mr. Craig Mims. To his immediate right is Mr. Murphy Glover, who serves as the Assistant Fleet Director. Mr. Mike Mason, who is the Deputy Director of Fleet as well. And Mr. Kentori Garman, who is the Performance and Innovation Manager. Nicole Swift, who is our Special Projects Director. Ms. Carletta Washington, who is our Senior Contract Administrator. We're very proud to have been able to onboard many of these positions. This will help tremendously to improve efficiency and our ability to respond to citizens' requests in a timely manner. Not pictured on this photograph is our new suite manager, our solid waste education and enforcement team, and we will discuss the hiring of that position a little bit later in the presentation. Under special project updates, we've completed our KABC 3-year grant commitment. Under that grant commitment, we were able to launch an ASL feasibility study. The ASL is our automated side loader trucks. These are the trucks that you see throughout the community. It's basically a truck that's operated by a single operator and has a mechanical arm on the side of the truck, which allows us to reduce the size of our crews for curbside waste collections by 66%. Under that study, we realized nearly 88% of the city could be canvassed by the use of these trucks, which is pretty significant. Not only the use of the trucks will help us to reduce injuries that are caused by the work that's performed by our crews. As you know, the occupational hazard that comes along with this job is very high. And so we're very excited about the opportunity to provide a safer environment for our workers. We also established a new procurement and contracts team. This will help us tremendously to be able to monitor the dates of our contracts, the expiration of our contracts. As you know, we've had discussions about the use of emergency contracts. Now that we have staff on board, we'll be able to get ahead of that issue and be able to plan well ahead of the expiration of the contracts. We've established a quality assurance team. Part of the duties under that team will to be able to monitor the level of work that's performed on our public right-of-ways to ensure a consistent appearance throughout the city. The quality assurance officers will review the work that's performed by our contractors and our full-time staff members. Also, the quality assurance officers, when we expand that team, hopefully before the end of the year, we hope to add 2 additional quality assurance inspectors. They will branch into performing audits of our solid waste curbside collection activities as well. Through the through the performance and innovation manager, we've been able to establish operational efficiencies through the use of technology for our solid waste services. So basically, we'll be able to record information and be able to benchmark the work that needs to be done and monitor our progress. We also assist them with several cleanups of the unsheltered throughout the city. We've assisted the Mayor's Office of Emergency Preparedness and work with Partners for Home to make sure that those who are unsheltered are rehomed in a humane way. Okay, under solid waste services, we have a few performance measures that we would like to share with you. During Q1, DPW received approximately 15,000 requests, and since onboarding the QA/QC team, they've been auditing our contractors, as I mentioned earlier. About a month ago, we suffered from a supply chain issue with trash can deliveries. So because we weren't able to source the cans, we fell behind probably about 2,000 requests. Once we received those cans, we put a team together very quickly, and we were able to issue those cans within, I believe, a 72-hour time period, which was a tremendous effort. I'm very proud of the work that the team did to be able to clear the backlog of trash bins. We also continue to reduce the amount of miscollections reported. Our current performance is about 95%. We hope to increase or decrease the amount of missed trash complaints. As you know, this committee approved the purchase of routing software that we will be able to use to understand exactly where our vehicles are. Currently, we struggle with understanding if a solid waste route is completed or if a house is missed. This software will give us the ability to know where our vehicles are in real time, and at the completion of each day, we'll know exactly where these trucks have been. Going back to our quality assurance, quality control team, since the implementation of this team, we've been able to yield immediate results as far as identifying areas where our teams and our contractors are performing right-of-way maintenance and things that need to be addressed. And here is a before and after photograph taken by the quality assurance team. You'll see that on the left-hand side, there's a app that was created in-house by our team. The app will allow us to take photographs and geotag the photographs and to provide a record of the performance, again, of our teams and the contractors. That information will be used by our supervisors to address any areas that need to be improved. The software will also be used, as we discussed earlier, to score our contractors with the built-in vendor scorecard. Here's a graphic for our tonnage that's collected by service area. As you can see, our recycling participation has increased. We were a little bit down on yard trimmings during this time period. Again, this is a little bit later in the summer. As you know, the yard trimming collections will increase tremendously during the fall season as we attempt to remove leaves and other yard debris from curbside. So citywide, garbage tonnage decreased by 426 tons for the quarter, which is a good thing. We want garbage to be reduced and for our recycling participation to increase, to divert the amount of items that we actually place into the landfill. So this gives us an indication that our recycling program is working very well. And so we're trending in the right direction. All right, here are a few metrics from Operation Clean Sweep. As you know, Operation Clean Sweep, this is the first year under the mayor's watch that we have launched Operation Clean Sweep with a defined budget. This is the first year that we were able to really capture data and metrics to really understand what areas where we really need to focus and areas that we really needed to improve. And so over 662 illegal dump sites have been abated, which is a huge undertaking. 33 tons of litter have been collected, 978 miles of right-of-way have been maintained, and nearly 28,000 trash receptacles were serviced, 1,800 miles of roads were swept. As far as street sweeping, we recently purchased 3 additional street sweepers. We had a real challenge with maintaining the schedule. Our goal is to make sure that in residential areas that we hit every street at least once a quarter. Due to mechanical issues, we fell short of that goal. Now that we have purchased the 3 additional street sweepers, we are back on track. Much thanks to our fleet team. Street sweepers are very difficult to source now. To purchase a street sweeper, there's about a 24-month waiting list right now. So our fleet team worked very hard to source these street sweepers, again, that are in operation today. So our solid waste and education enforcement team performed over 3,000 inspections. We have a little bit over 1,000 cases that were done proactively, and they also investigated 234 illegal dumping sites. We also have hired 2 sworn officers. Their full-time job will be to investigate illegal dumping crimes. And so in conjunction with working with the solicitor's office, 2 of the suite officer positions, I've worked with the solicitor's office to divert those positions so that we can really begin to focus on illegal dumping solely, and the officers will have arrest powers to address illegal dumping crimes. The biggest takeaway out of this slide is that we hired a full-time solid waste education enforcement manager that onboarded last week. And so we will be able to investigate not only illegal dumping crimes, just code enforcement issues as a whole, a lot more proactively. On the special events, you'll see our mayor at the Peachtree Road Race, Dragon Con, and the Atlanta Pride Parade are just a few events that the Department of Public Works handles on an ongoing basis. Not just litter control and crowd management, we also assist with fortification of the perimeter of these events with vehicles. So again, just give you another idea of the activities that take place under our special operations team. All right, bulk collections, we nearly have almost 8,000 requests to date. During the month of July, we handled nearly 480 requests, August 556, and September 650. As you can see, the requests are increasing. We're about 5 to 7 days out for bulk requests. It's a snapshot of our community cleanup events and the volunteer hours associated with the events. We are working in partnership with Hands On Atlanta. Hands On Atlanta has a volunteer portal, and some of our cleanup sites are listed on that portal where citizens and members of the business community can sign up for volunteer opportunities. Okay, under the Office of Fleet Services, we have a little bit over 6,000 pieces of equipment. We completed nearly over 5,000 repairs for this reporting period. And citywide, our availability of vehicles are at 90%, and we completed almost 18,000 hours of labor. As you know, we struggled in the past with getting some of our MARC units repaired. Many of the vehicles were aging. Since then, we have been able to purchase 70 vehicles for the police department. I believe we have another 40 that have been purchased and are scheduled to be delivered. The last time that we spoke, Councilmember Hillis, I believe we discussed we had about 115 vehicles that were under repair. During the time of this report, we only had 78 vehicles that were under repair. And we have an average of about 8 to 12 vehicles that are on the ready line, ready to be picked up for APD. So again, through the new leadership team, Mr. Mims and his team, we've been able to really reduce the amount of vehicles that are currently under repair. We discussed the street sweeper, the three street sweepers that we ordered a little bit earlier, and we are in the process of purchasing 4 automated side-loaded trucks, and we have purchased rear-loaded trucks as well. Our goal is to purchase the automated side-loaded trucks to meet the goal of being able to cover that 88% of the city. Currently, we're less than 20% of our inventory is automated side-loaded trucks. Again, the push to implement the automated side-loaded trucks is to improve the efficiency of this service, and also, most importantly, to ensure that our crews are able to work in a safe environment. So, quick snapshot of our org chart and the new positions that were recently added. Currently, the department is staffed for 678 positions. About 540 of those positions are filled. We have about 138 positions that remain to be filled. Under the Office of the Commissioner, 83% of our positions are staffed. The Office of Solid Waste Services, 83%, again, which is a significant improvement. And working with the Department of Human Resources and our new HR Commissioner, Commissioner Smith, we're still struggling with the Office of Fleet Services and recruiting and retaining technicians. This is a very competitive field right now. Hopefully, after we complete our classification and pay study, we'll get a better understanding in our position in the marketplace if our wages are competitive. But right now, we're really struggling with staffing those positions. So just a quick financial snapshot. In all 3 areas, we're trending in the right direction. The Office of Fleet Services, we're probably 1% or 2, a little bit above where we would really like to be. As we continue throughout the budget year, we're confident that those numbers will align. Part of the reason for that slight increase is that we have had to outsource some of the commercial repairs to commercial vendors while we attempt to fill some of the vacant technician positions. But again, we're confident that throughout the year that we will either be slightly under or in direct alignment with our budget goals. So under our safety division, we have a CDL training program, which we're very proud of. It gives us the opportunity to promote from within. A lot of our solid waste workers go through this program and are eventually promoted to a driver's position. We have a high success rate throughout this program. 38 students under this reporting period were under the program. 28 received their CDLs, and 10 students are still awaiting testing to receive their CDL. Just a brief snapshot of some of the training courses that are offered. Our flagger courses and defensive driving courses and just general safety courses fall under our safety division. Our defensive driving course is a popular course because it allows our employees to receive a discount on their personal automobile insurance, but most importantly, it gives them an opportunity to get safe driving tips, and we see a direct correlation with the training and the reduction of accidents as well. So during the month of July, we had 3 accidents. 2 of those accidents were preventable. August, 8 accidents, 5 were preventable. September, 7 accidents and 6 were preventable. We use this data to coach our drivers to make sure that they have habits that will promote safe driving, and we also look at any issues that are trending to reduce the amount of accidents. Of course, when we onboard new drivers that aren't familiar with the city or familiar with the routes, the rate of incidents increase, and so our goal is to ensure that we retain safe drivers that are tenured employees with the city of Atlanta. Moving on to the most important piece of this presentation, our frontline heroes. We have Mr. Roderick James that retired after 32 years of service, Ms. Alice Latimer, 31 years of service, Ms. Valerie Ferguson, 33 years, and Mr. Calvin Stevens, 32 years. Of course, we love to see our folks to move on to other opportunities. As you can see, they're very healthy folks and have a lot of life left in them, but it's just really sad to see them go. On a more somber note, we announced the passing of Mr. DeAnthony Smith, who worked with us for 15 years. Again, it's just hard to come before you. It seems as if every quarterly report, we're losing someone. But Mr. DeAnthony Smith was a well-respected member of DPW. We just wanted to take this time to acknowledge his commitment to the city of Atlanta. This concludes my presentation, and I'll address any questions should you have any.
Thank you, Commissioner. First, probably know by now one of my pet peeves is quality metrics. So the ones that were provided, they look good with the, I believe it's bin collections at 90-something, upper 90s. You mentioned, there were some challenges with cart replacement. And while I see raw numbers of, the number of carts that's replaced, there isn't a quality metric attached to that. Given the challenges that you mentioned, I imagine those aren't as good as the ones for the collections, but we still want to see those. Street sweeping requests, illegal dumping cleanups, any of the other SLAs attached to things that SWEET does, bulk collection requests, and like I said, we did see the ones for the missed collection in the upper 90s, so great job there, and then the citywide vehicle availability. So we could just get some more of the quality metrics to better understand where DPW is and meeting those and, closing the gap and things like that.
Yes, Councilmember Hillis, and that's a great point. I will tell you that we struggled with collecting legacy data because we had a manual process in place. And so the data that we had, I didn't view it as reliable data or consistent data. So through the routing software and other software programs that we're implementing, we'll be able to record the information accurately. So the information that we have and the information that we provided was collected during that time period, so it was very difficult to show a comparison of what happened previously with using data that I was comfortable with.
So is that something we can look forward to on the first quarter report of next year?
Absolutely.
Thank you. What is I know we've had a lot of conversations this year, just us and then also here in this committee about the status of our relationships with our dealerships. Where is that at? And getting those vehicles back in an acceptable time frame?
So it has improved, and the information that we're collecting with our outside vendors, we are sharing with them to make sure that they don't have any disputes with the accuracy of the information. We also share the information that we collected with their competitors. just to show them how to kind of benchmark their services and performance. During the next quarterly update, we'll be able to share that information with you. We began collecting that information halfway through this reporting period, so the information wouldn't have been all-encompassing, but we will have that information to share with you. Since we have shared that data with the outside vendors, we have seen significant improvements. We have also added additional vendors onto our list of providers since we last spoke.
Great. What is the status of DPW's transition as far as collections go to side loaders in certain parts of the city? Is that ongoing? Are we continuing to add side loaders? What's the status of that?
So we are in the process of ordering 4 additional side loaders. Side loaders are very difficult to acquire now. There's a huge back order on side orders. And so rather than purchasing, a few side loaders here and there, we're coming up with a citywide vehicle replacement plan. And under that plan, there will be a focus on the purchase of the automated side loaders. Again, we just received the results of the study, and so we did not do a deep dive into looking at the amount of ASLs that we would purchase until we had a complete understanding of how we would be able to deploy the vehicles. And now that we know that nearly 90% of the city can be canvassed, our goal is to ensure that the majority of our fleet will be automated side loaders.
Outside of those 4 that are coming, how many do we currently have?
We have currently 7 automated side loaders, and we're looking to add six additional side loaders. And so we're looking to add an additional 5. We're also looking at liquidating some of our fleet that is aged, and through the collection of the revenue from the vehicles that we liquidate, to also purchase additional side loaders as well.
Kind of 2 questions into one, given the time of year with leaves falling, ramping up, yard collections, street sweeping is direly needed. And I know previously, during this time of year, you partner with watershed management to make sure that our storm drains are clean, and those gutters are free of leaves. So what is the status of that partnership this year, and where are we at with our street sweeping? How many sweepers we have in service? How many are out? Enlighten me.
Yeah, so as it relates to our relationship with the Department of Watershed, that relationship is ongoing. And particularly, we make sure that we meet the requirements of the consent decree as it relates to the combined sewer system. As I mentioned earlier, we had 3 street sweepers that were delivered to us last week. I don't have the number of street sweepers that are currently under repair. I believe we have 7 street sweepers that we use to canvass the entire city. Our situation with street sweepers.
Does that include the 3 that we just received?
No,
or
that doesn't. So we have a total of 10 in addition to the 7 existing ones. But our street sweeper situation is very fragile because of the age of the equipment and the difficulty with sourcing the equipment. And also, it is difficult to retain drivers to operate that specialized piece of equipment because new drivers tend to struggle with damaging the brooms on the street sweepers. So that is part of the challenges that we have, but we're in a much better position now. We have enough vehicles currently to maintain our quarterly commitment to sweeping every residential street.
And just to follow up related to street sweeping, and I bring this up, and I've brought it up since I came on the council 5 years ago because it keeps getting brought up by constituents, and I keep noticing as well, is we are street sweeping on days and neighborhoods on days that collections also occur. So street sweepers are doing this around people's recycling and green bins. So is that something we can address, or are we waiting on our routing software to what's the status of that?
Right, and so it's, Councilmember Hillis, I share a disdain for seeing that, and I cringe anytime that I see that. Typically that occurs when we have mechanical failures and we fall severely behind. and the drivers begin to canvass other streets after they complete their primary route. But to answer your question, as part of the routing software, we'll perform a route optimization program to make sure that our routes are, number one, equally balanced. Number two, that the services that we provide don't conflict with other services. And this is part of that process. So yes, that will address the issue, but the instances where you're seeing street sweepers operating on the same day as our solid waste crews is when our drivers have completed their primary route and pick up a street or two after the completion of those routes. So the optics are horrible, but again, we have to kind of commend them for the effort of actually trying to pick up additional streets in the course of performing their duties.
Commissioner, thank you. Great job to you and your team.
Thank you, sir.
We've been joined by Ms. Liliana Bakhtiari and Mr. Lewis. You have the floor, and then followed by Mr. Winston.
I want to first say thank you for the attention that District 12 has received over the past two council meetings. I see a total change in the way our right-of-ways are treated, in the way our bins are collected, and the way things are just done. So I appreciate you for making sure that the attention was paid to that. My questions, thank you. My questions are surrounding around the positions that are open. We see that you have 75 solid waste vacant positions. Is there a reason why? Because I know that I'm calling HR about 3 people who are in the solid waste pipeline for the past 5 months. And so they haven't received anything. And I know they applied for positions that are open. And so I'm wondering, what's the issue right there?
Well, so I didn't recall that number, and I have to go back to that slide to get the actual number. We're actually trending very well in our solid waste and area of solid waste services. There is a cycle of where the reporting period does not necessarily align with the real-time number of staffing of personnel that we have on board. Our goal is to a 90% range. I believe as of today, we have met that. I think we're at 88% staffing. So for this reporting period, that number is accurate for that particular time period. But today, we are not having any challenges with onboarding staff in the area of solid waste services.
And I can tell, I appreciate you, I can tell in my area, I don't know what other folks, I can tell. And I'm seeing the people that I asked to get the jobs actually working on my street, so I feel good when I see them. The Office of Commissioner vacant positions, what are those? Are those like efficiency positions? Are those?
Yeah, most of these positions are administrative, some quasi-professional positions that we have in the office. And again, that number reflects our staffing during this reporting period. We are also waiting for the results of a personnel paper that was submitted to the Department of Human Resources. I will tell you that Commissioner Smith has reached out to me directly to find out if there is anything that she can do to help with our recruitment efforts. And so I am confident that whatever goal that we have, we will be able to accomplish. Our biggest struggle, again, is through the Office of Fleet Service. And our struggles mirror what the private sector is experiencing as well. We're having discussions about hiring an outside recruiter to recruit for these professional technician positions.
I want to say thank you because I can see the improvement in efficiency. And the reason why I asked about those positions, because to see the office grow without actually filling those positions, I don't know how you're doing it. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Mr. Winston.
Thank you, Commissioner Wiggins, for being here today and for the quarterly update. A couple of questions for you. As the city continues to grow its bicycle, protected lane network, we're seeing a lot of debris, in those right-of-ways within the bicycle lanes. Is there a plan to start trying to make sure we can get those areas cleaned up, especially with all the fall debris and foliage that's starting to accumulate in some of those areas?
Yeah, the biggest part of our problem is just the availability of street sweepers. I will tell you that I've been in conversation with the Deputy Chief Operating Officer, Kojo, Commissioner Anderson Bomar with ADOT. We also need to work together to understand when we are installing new bike lanes and the configuration of the bike lanes so that we can purchase equipment that's capable of maneuvering through those obstacles, if you will. But our biggest struggle was actually the availability of equipment, and the 3 additional street sweepers is a game changer for us.
I know I've seen in other cities where they've had smaller pieces of equipment, vehicles that can fit through those lanes. Right now, is it just a manual process? Is someone just having to go in with a blower per se and go through those lanes?
It's a combination of a few things. But yeah, there is a manual component where they have to get back out there and blow the lanes. As long as we have enough, it just depends on the configuration of the lane. The majority of those lanes, we are able to use a traditional sweeper. There are some areas to where they have somewhat of a barricade in between the vehicle lanes and the bicycle lanes that causes a challenge with us being able to go out and clear those areas. But again, that's when we have to go out and manually clear those areas.
Are they on a schedule, or is it mostly on demand at this point?
They are on a schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, so the commercial areas are swept more frequently than the residential areas, but they are on a schedule.
Okay. And then you and I have talked about this a lot, the illegal dumping, something that upsets me a lot, especially, in our underserved communities. And so, you've instituted a lot of measures to help combat that. Do you have any data around arrests that have been made?
So, no, and the reason for that is that we don't have the arrest powers to effect an arrest for illegal dumping crimes. Hence the reason that we use the funding for 2 of our code enforcement officer positions to hire 2 sworn officers that will work under the watch of the solicitor's office. And so we're expecting significant results after hiring for those 2 positions, because again, we aren't able to make those arrests, and the police department simply, they're taxed with addressing other issues. And so we use the funding for the suite officers to fund 2 full-time sworn officers.
Okay, and to be clear, those positions have not been filled yet.
They're in the process, no,
Okay.
and but they are in the process for interviewing for those.
And do you have a timeline on when you think those positions will be?
We hope by the first of the year that they'll make the hires and the officers will be onboarded.
Okay, so just a suggestion for me is that, I think this is something that should be highly publicized. I think we should do everything we can to let people know that you're not going to litter and illegally dump in the city of Atlanta. And if so, we're going to come after you very in a hard manner to make sure that you're prosecuted for that. So please let us know how we can help facilitate that and speed that along. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Spectori.
Thank you. I mean, Commissioner, I think what you're hearing is that Councilmember Winston would like to be deputized to go out and make arrests himself. So we should just get you a personal camera and a license plate reader and you'll be set. But no, I wanted to say thank you, as always, for your presentation, and to the team for answering every single email I send your way and always being so helpful. You have abated every single dump site that we've sent to you, so I appreciate that. My one question, because my colleagues have pretty much knocked out all the questions I had, but my last one is, in terms of the street sweeping schedule, is there a way that you could send that to us ahead of time? Because I would love to be able to make announcements in the neighborhood to clear the streets to make sure that you have the most, it's the most effective sweep it can be. Just because right now, I'm always late to the game, so.
Absolutely, and we're also, now that we have the 3 additional street sweepers and we have a schedule that is maintainable, that schedule will be posted on our website, and as well, we will send out reminders via social media on the days that we are canvassing roads. So we'll send out reminders on the day of and a few days in advance as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner, just wanting to thank your team. I too see a great in my community. They are very responsive, and on behalf of all of the community members in District 10, thank you all so much for what you all do, and especially the responsiveness when we have urgent issues and needs. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll wrap up with a couple things. I too recognize a lot of good initiatives here and forward progress. I would like to assume that in part that means, you know, your department is working with your other sister departments as you will need to regarding procurements, regarding HR, bringing people on timely and all that. So I recognize that and appreciate that. So I was looking at your quarterly total of recycling tonnage versus regular garbage tonnage. And I'm curious, is there a industry-wide kind of national standard for utilities our size in terms of the ratio between, I assume recycling's going to be less than regular garbage across the board, but is there enough data out there to let us know what is a reasonable target to aspire to? I mean, we got a long way to go, whatever that is.
Councilmember Shook, I will divert to our Executive Director of Keep Atlanta Beautiful, Ms. Kanika Greenlee.
Morning.
Good morning, Kanika Greenlee. So the national standard, they look at more at pounds per household. And so we're, the pounds per household is about 375 to 380, and we're slightly below that target. We're at about 337, 340.
Oh, not that far
So
off.
not that far off. So we're near the target. I know we present in this meeting in tonnage, but when we look at the national metrics and the national standards, it's pounds per household.
I guess my next question then would be, I would assume a single-family household is going to produce more than a condo or an apartment in general.
Yes.
So I'm wondering how we compare, and perhaps you don't have this data, if you look at cities with a comparable mix to, you know, lifestyles as we have in terms of.
I don't have that data readily available, but I'll see if I can find something.
Yeah, I'd be curious about that. It would help kind of pin that. But thank you, that's interesting.
Councilmember Shook, also before you move on, one thing I'd like for you to keep in mind is that we have a unique setup, is that we recycle a significant amount of weight to our recycling program. So it's hard to make a parallel comparison to other communities.
All right, point well taken. I am curious, do dead animal pickups occur via a specialized team, or how does the manpower work for that when a call comes in?
So yes, we have a dedicated driver and a vehicle that's specially configured to perform that service. So we have 2 employees that are staffed to perform that service.
I forget what the budgeting on an annual basis was for that. I'll have to look it up. I did note that in this quarter's report, there were 3 such pickups.
I'm sorry, you said, are they free pickups?
Yeah, there were 3 dead animal pickups.
3 tons?
3 tons?
Yes.
Well, that's a lot more dead animals than 3.
Right. Well, we have 1,300 miles of right-of-way, Councilmember Shook, and so at any point in time, although we're in an urban environment, we pick up anything from deer to possums and, you know, domestic animals. And so
It's not all that urban. We all see what's out there running around. That concludes my questions or comments. Apparently no one has anything else, but thank you for this good report.
Thank you, sir.
Could you sound our first reads, please?
We have communications. The first is to be placed on hold. A communication for council members Marcy Collier Overstreet, District 11, Antonia Lewis, District 12, and Keisha Shawn Waits, Post 3 at large, reappointing Mr. Clifford Ice to serve as a member to the Water and the Sewer Appeals Board. This appointment is for a term of 3 years to begin retroactively on November 7, 2022, and expire November 6, 2025.
All right, and I understand that the nominee is not present.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Motion to hold. Second by Mr. Hillis. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. Please vote. The vote is closed.
All right, items held. We hope to see the nominee at our next sitting.
We have one more communication. A communication from Council President Doug Shipman appointing Ms. Layla Kompani to serve as a member of the Keep Atlanta Beautiful Commission. This appointment is for a term of 2 years.
Is the nominee here?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Oh, come on up. Hello. Please introduce yourself and tell us about yourself and your interest in this.
Hello, it's great to be here. So yes, I'm Layla Kompani. I am a resident of Peoplestown, District 1, Jason Winston High. And I've been a part of the Atlanta community since 1994. I would be very happy to be a part of the Keep Atlanta Beautiful Commission because it is important to me for us to be able to continue to improve and beautify all of our communities in and around Atlanta. Where I live right in Peoplestown, it's rapidly changing. I see where it's under-resourced compared to other communities, and so for me, it's of importance. So, thank you for considering me.
Motion to approve from your council member. Second from Ms. Boone. If there's nothing else, let's open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, the ayes have it. So ordered. Thank you so much for your willingness to serve. Could you sound our first reads, please?
22-0-1844, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2023 Solid Waste Services Revenue Fund budget to transfer appropriations within the Department of Public Works from various line items to contractual obligation line items in the amount of $8,064,538.00 as approved under Section 6-304B of the City Code of Ordinances and for other purposes. 22-0-1845, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2023 Water and Wastewater Renewal and Extension Fund budget in the amount of $4,200,000.00 to transfer funds from watershed reserves for appropriations and add funds to the annual plant maintenance projects and for other purposes.
All right, thank you. Being first reads, we'll take them up next time. That takes us to our second reads, first of which is item 5, and we've been asked to take 5 and 8 as a block. Item 5 is 22-0-1805, an ordinance by Utilities authorizing the CFO to amend the FY 2023 Water and Wastewater Renewal and Extension Fund budget in the amount of $775,000 to transfer funds from watershed reserves for appropriations to add funds to the Utoy Creek Ecosystem Restoration Study Project and for other purposes. 8 is 22R4674, resolution by Utilities authorizing the mayor to enter into a federal cost share agreement with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to conduct an ecosystem restoration feasibility study for the Utoy Creek watershed in an amount not to exceed $775,000. All work to be charged to and paid from, etc. Deputy Commissioner, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the council. My name is Alex Mahajer with the Office of the Watershed Protection. This item is to request approval for the city to enter into a federal cost share agreement with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to conduct an ecosystem restoration feasibility study for the Utoy Creek watershed, which is located in the southwest area of Atlanta. And this project is within council districts of 4, 10, 11, and 12. There has been a significant degradation of the creek as the watershed has continued to become more urbanized over time. This legislation is to authorize and to fund the study to improve the aquatic ecosystem along Utoy Creek and its tributaries. The study will identify actions that can be implemented to improve the quality of the environment, and aquatic ecosystem. Total cost for the study is $1.5 million at 50/50 cost share. The city's share would be $775,000. The duration is not to exceed 3 years, and the study will be done by the Corps of Engineers from Mobile District. Source of funding would be Watershed Improvement Program 101 Utah Creek and Water and Wastewater Renewal and Extension Fund 5052.
Any questions about either item? Well, it's an exciting project, I know that. I remember under Mayor Reed, there was a very vast, impressive, breathtaking project, of which I guess this is the centerpiece. You're not going to have all the other whistles and bells until Utah gets fixed up. If there's nothing else, I will move approval of items 5 and 8. Second by Ms. Boone. Let's open the vote, please.
Vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right. The ayes have it. That takes us to number 6, 22-01806, ordinance by utilities authorizing the CFO to amend the FY 2023 Water and Wastewater Renewal and Extension Fund budget in the amount of $8 million to transfer funds from the Watershed Reserve Appropriations and add funds to GDOT/Intergovernmental Agreements, Utility Relocation and Municipal Project, and for other purposes. Commissioner Browning.
Hey, good morning, Chairman Shook and council members. Makita Browning, Commissioner, Department of Watershed Management. Purpose of this legislation is to authorize the CFO to amend the FY23 budget in an amount of $8 million to transfer funds for the watershed reserves and appropriations for the GDOT IGA agreements, utility relocation, and municipal projects. City of Atlanta's utilities include water distribution system and wastewater system, which are located within the public right-of-way owned by Georgia Department of State of Georgia, in City of Atlanta and other local municipal governments, such as City of South Fulton, City of Roswell, City of Palmetto, City of Fairburn, City of Sandy Springs, DeKalb County, and Fulton County. Funding will allow Department of Watershed Management to comply with state requirements by ensuring relocations and adjustments of city water and wastewater utilities, conflicting with roadway projects that make improvements to the public right-of-way. DWM provides design documents to relocate or adjust our utilities that can be included in the roadway projects in the contracts under our intergovernmental agreement with the agency that's sponsoring the right-of-way project. DWM has identified projects that will require utility relocations within projects sponsored by GDOT, ATL DOT, MARTA, a few of the CIDs, and again, some of the local municipal governments. Subject to your questions.
How often do we need to replenish this fund?
We do it annually.
Annually.
Yeah.
Questions or comments? Motion to approve by Ms. Boone, second by Ms. Bakhtiari. Let's open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, the ayes have it. So ordered. Resolutions. First of which is 22-R4601. This is a resolution by Mr. Bond requesting the Department of Watershed Management conduct a topographical and hydrology survey of the City of Atlanta's stormwater runoff areas to determine the feasibility of tree plantings in said areas and for other purposes. Commissioner.
So Department of Watershed Management has now had an opportunity to review the proposed legislation, and we feel that a lot of our current efforts underway will address this. It mentions topographical data. Topo data is pretty readily available by various different sources. So we already have that in our asset data. But getting new data would require expenditures of money to do that. And the hydrology survey also would require some capital expenditures. As many of you probably know, we implemented our Stormwater Technical Advisory Committee. We kicked that off in October. They had the second meeting with the team this month. So a lot of the efforts that they have underway to really study hydrology and stormwater runoff across the city is being done. We're looking to kick off a floodplain analysis. We've got the scope of work already crafted, so we'll be getting a consultant on board to conduct that work for us. So overarchingly, I think that the work that we have underway is will address this. And so it is the department's request to file this legislation, if you're amenable to it.
One question I have that was not answered by reading the legislation, but you may know, is this envisioned to look at the entire city, which would mean private property, property owned by other governments, or is it just city-owned property in the city right away? Do you have any sense of?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure. And to your point, when you're talking about tree canopy requirements for public versus private property, it's different. With our analysis of stormwater, we're going to be looking at impervious versus pervious surfaces, obviously green space, and so inherent to that would be trees. But to your point, it's a difference between impacts to public versus private property.
So this would be two separate studies.
Well, I think ours would encompass everything. Again, we're holistically looking at stormwater management across the city. We're holistically looking at the makeup of topography and hydrology and all those things to better understand where we've got challenges across the city in different areas in all the 10 watersheds. So that would be inclusive of the green space.
Ms. Bakhtiari.
Thank you, Commissioner. And I just want to say for the record, I know you and I have spoken about this, but I don't believe I've told everyone on council, but we did just launch a heat vulnerability assessment with the Urban Climate Lab that's citywide. And we'll be getting those results back in February, doing in part what Councilmember Bond mentioned in this or requested in this paper. And through that agreement, we're also doing a stormwater assessment. So that will also be citywide. And then we launched a pilot, again, with tech to count all of the old growth canopy we had in the district on private property. And so once we have all that data, I was going to hand it over to the watershed department
That would be great.
to share with the rest of.
And we'll be able to share with you the results of our Stormwater Technical Advisory Committee as well, their efforts to hone in on stormwater management and issues across the city.
Gillis.
Chair, thank you, Commissioner Browning. Somewhat related to this, stormwater. This committee asked for updates for each council member, district council member, for the citywide stormwater projects.
We're working on it.
Status on those.
We're working on it.
Okay.
Should have it to you in 2 weeks.
Okay. I've got certainly 1, 2, or 3 projects in my district that I have of top of mind, so I want to touch base with you in particular to those later.
Sounds good.
One is affecting roadway, so I want to chat about that after the meeting if you have a second. So I wanted to get an update on that. Trees alone is not going to fix some of those problems, but wanted to check on the status of that, so thank you.
All right, committee, in terms of our disposition of this paper, I will just say that I'm hopelessly old school, and that's going to show through here. I just find it distasteful to file personal papers, especially when the author is not here. I have a feeling I know how I'm going to vote. I do know how I'm going to vote at the end of the day. So for discussion purposes, I'll make a motion to hold. There's a second by Ms. Boone. If there's no questions or comments, let's ring up that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Item is held. Takes us to, we've done 8, that takes us to 9, and we're going to take, if it's okay with the committee, 9, 10, and held item 16 as a block. Item 9 is 22R4675, resolution by utilities authorizing the mayor to execute the First Amendment to the agreement, which is listed here, an annual contract for sanitary sewer repairs with Collins/SE Consortium, a joint venture, on behalf of Watershed to add funding for the necessary linear sanitary sewer repairs on an as-needed basis in an amount not to exceed $14,295,964.17. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from, etc. Item 10 is 22R4676, resolution by utilities authorizing the mayor to designate and execute the First Amendment to the agreement, number of which is indicated. Again, annual contract for sanitary sewer repairs with Rockdale Pipeline, Inc. / Integral Municipal Services Corporation, a joint venture, on behalf of Watershed to add funding for necessary linear sanitary sewer repairs on an as-needed basis in an amount not to exceed $15,786,536.50. And then also held item 16, which is 22O1754, ordinance by utilities authorizing the CFO to amend the FY 2023 budget for water and wastewater renewal and extension fund in the amount of $30,082,500.67 to transfer funds from the watershed reserves for appropriations and add funds to the listed sanitary sewer repairs projects and for other purposes. Commissioner.
Good morning, Makita Browning, Watershed. Purpose of this legislation is to amend and appropriate funds for our annual contracts for sanitary sewer repairs. And the amount requested for Ruby Collins SE Consortium and Rockdale Pipeline IMS JV. The contracts and funds will assist DWM with on-call sewer infrastructure repairs and rehabilitation, construction services to support addressing both emergency and priority sewer infrastructure repairs, as well as provide supplemental support to our Office of Linear Infrastructure Operations as needed. These contracts also support our consent decree program and efforts to remedy defects observed and address sewer system improvements within the city's combined and separated systems. At present, the contracts are providing construction support with several priority projects across the city, such as Krog Street Tunnel Phases 1 and 2, Adams Drive sewer improvements, our Peachtree Creek Trunk Relief sewer inspection and cleaning, our Valley to Hawks EIB sewer realignment, and several other priority projects. To date, both contractors have continued to perform satisfactorily with no issues. Subject to your questions.
So does the difference in the amounts reflect the difference in capacity between the two joint ventures?
We have projects that we're targeting for them to assist with, so we've gotten some advanced quotes from them on the work, and so that's the kind of the differentiator with a little bit of anticipated additional work, undefined work that's upcoming.
Mr. Hillis.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Browning. You did mention my question was going to be if both of these contractors are performing satisfactorily. You stated they have been. I know we have suffered some setbacks, especially with the Adams Drive project. I guess those are supply chain issues. Just elaborate on that and I guess assure us that both Ruby and Rockdale are performing satisfactory work.
Yeah, I know they've been working diligently. That's when Rockdale Pipeline that was assigned to Adams Drive Sewer Improvements Project. They did experience some supply chain issues, difficulties, no different from what some of our other contractors are doing. And, they're pretty diligent. They perform well for us on this contract and other work that they've done for us. They're can-do, and so we appreciate their support and their willingness to just be available for any emergency that comes about.
The vote is open.
On all three items.
The vote is closed.
The ayes have it, so ordered. That takes us, you have two more presentations, Commissioner? Two more papers?
Yes, I do. I've got two other.
Let's take those while you're up there. Item 12 is 22R 4678, this is a resolution by Utilities authorizing the mayor to execute the First Amendment of the Intergovernmental Agreement with the State of Georgia Department of Transportation on behalf of Watershed to add funds to the agreement in the amount of $147,613.32. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from, et cetera. Commissioner.
Purpose of this legislation is to request the mayor to enter into a contract item agreement with Georgia Department of Transportation and to appropriate funds in the amount not to exceed $147,613.32 for the construction services relating to GDOT's road widening project along SR 237 Piedmont Road from State Route 141 connector to State Route 141. GDOT, along with Buckhead CID, are sponsoring a road widening project in approximately 0.4 miles. The project would widen State Route 237, which is Piedmont Road, to add north and southbound through right turn lanes between Peachtree Road and Lennox Road, and several other additional traffic improvements. City of Atlanta adopted legislation 20-R-4123 for construction-related services associated with this project back in 2020, in an amount not to exceed $370,807. The sponsors made additional revisions to the design, which increased DWM's utility relocation costs to $518,420.32. So as a result, an addition of $147,613.32 are needed to complete the work.
Questions or comments? I'll make a motion to approve. Second by Mr. Hillis. Let's open that vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Have it. Item 13 is 22R4679, resolution by Utilities authorizing the mayor to enter into an MOU and contract item agreement with GDOT on behalf of Watershed for the purpose of adjusting water infrastructure that is in conflict with the Department of Transportation's milling and resurfacing project, a number of which is indicated, along State Route 139, Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, from State Route 14 West Whitehall Street to CS 1010 East Ontario Avenue in Fulton County in an amount not to exceed $852,120.
The purpose of this legislation is to request the mayor to enter into a contract item agreement with GDOT and to appropriate funds in the amount not to exceed $852,120 for construction services related to GDOT's project M006329. GDOT is sponsoring a milling resurfacing project. The project is within Council District 4 in PUT. DWM has 100 water valves and 100 sanitary sewer manholes that need to be adjusted, lowered prior to milling and raising after resurfacing to accommodate GDOT's milling and resurfacing project. To expedite the staging of the construction and minimize service interruptions, we feel it's in the best interest of the public and to include DWM's utility adjustments in GDOT's construction contract. This program limits City of Atlanta's liability to traffic and safety concerns as part of the milling and resurfacing project. DWM's construction cost is $852,120. This project is in design phase, and construction is scheduled to commence in May of next year, subject to your questions.
Questions, comments? I'll make a motion to approve. Ms. Boone has made the second, so let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Thank you. The ayes have it. And I believe lastly is item 11, 22R4677, resolution by Utilities authorizing the mayor or his designee to exercise the third renewal option under the agreement, which is indicated here, large meter accuracy equipment and analytics with Olia Networks, Inc., on behalf of Watershed for a term of 1 year, effective December 6th of this year through December 5th of next, for time only and for other purposes. Mr. Smith.
Good morning, Chairman Shook and other council members. I'm Hugh Smith, the Deputy Commissioner from the Office of Customer Care and Billing Services. The purpose of the legislation in front of you is to exercise the third and final renewal option on the agreement FC 10387, large meter accuracy equipment and analytics with Aaliyah Edge Network Incorporated. The purpose of that agreement is to monitor the health of the City of Atlanta's large meters with the intent of diagnosing and identifying underperforming meters. Underperforming meters can cause revenue loss through unaccounted water use. They are in the third phase and the final stage of their meter health survey, and targeted completion date is December 9th of 2022. Projected completion date of all analysis is April 1st of 2023, and this requested renewal will allow Aaliyah Edge Network Incorporated to complete their survey and provide a full report of their findings. This concludes my remarks, and I entertain your questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? I'll make a motion to approve. Second by Mr. Hillis. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Right, the ayes have it. We have no walk-ins and no more held papers to deal with, correct?
Correct, Mr. Chair.
All right, assuming there's no announcements to be made by anyone, I will motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn is undebatable.